The Jets talk to you about returning kicks?
Oh, that's me. I'm the guy.
All right, well, we appreciate that. Good luck on it. Of course, the only reason that you didn't return kicks at A&M was Leland McElroy, the freshman, led the country in kickoff returns last year.
All right, Craig and Aaron, thank you very much. Aaron Glenn, first draft pick of the New York Jets. Joe points out that maybe they got to get a hat that fits them.
That's it comes down a little too far.
They'll get a helmet that fits them because, by the way, many of these phones here, these helmet phones, are the old-time helmets. These are not the Jets helmets that they wear now, of course. These are the Jets helmets that I used to sit in the upper deck and watch them wear. And at some point this year, in the 75th season of the NFL, the third game, all the teams are going to wear an old-time jersey, if not the first jersey that the team ever worn, an old-time one. Then when teams come home later on in the season, they'll wear an old-time jersey, old-time helmet. Hey, old, new, we're here. The draft continues in a moment.
What tire do you trust in the wet? A tire that removes over 2 gallons of water per second from under the tread. The all-season MX4. Another engineering splash from Michelin.
The new G20 is Infinity's least expensive luxury car. To them, however, it's just another Infinity. That's why whenever you schedule service for your G20, you'll get a free loaner car. And when you come back, you'll find it hand-washed and vacuumed. Just like the owners of their most luxurious Q45. If it deserves to be called an Infinity, it deserves to be treated like one.
Walter Payton puts it on pasta. Payne Stewart, blackened salmon. Dan Marino, wings. So what do you put it on?
Yow!
Tabasco.
5.5 minutes for the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock. The first of their 2 first-round picks. You talk about a team decimated by free agency. The Philadelphia Eagles define it. Over the last couple of years, 3 to be exact. Oh, Nelly, they lost Keith Jackson, they lost Keith Byers to the Dolphins. Some guy named Reggie White went to the Green Bay Packers. His buddy Clyde Simmons just went to the Arizona Cardinals, along with Seth Joyner. Jim McMahon, their backup, gone. And you see others, including the punter Jeff Philadelphia Feagles, now has gone to rejoin Buddy down at Arizona. So the list of the free agent losses by the Philadelphia Eagles is staggering. To give them some credit, they bring in guys like a Romanowski, like a Bert Grossman, like a William Fuller on the defensive line to try and plug the holes. To give them also credit, I think, given what they lost and given the injury to Cunningham, etc. last year, there is no team that played harder, given their situation, than the Philadelphia Eagles, who cared enough in the final game of the season on the Monday night to beat the 49ers on the road in overtime. That being said, they have a heavy hand dealt against them, gentlemen, and it's continuing to be dealt with the departure of Joyner and Simmons.
Oh, I just think that you got to take a look at the job that Richie Kotite has done with that football team. This is just a fantastic job of coaching. And also, something ought to not go overlooked here, the job that Bubby Brister did coming in and filling in for an injured Randall Cunningham. I think Richie's got to be sitting there wondering what's going to happen if I do, by some chance, have Randall Cunningham for an entire season. Their quarterback situation is very solid. I would look right now for that offensive lineman that has been elusive so far in the draft. Possibly an Aaron Taylor right here might be a very good fit. Remember, we're talking about another football team that has got to start over and start rebuilding. They'll get the players they need on the defensive side. They just need some on the offense.
Well, and they need to keep Randall Cunningham healthy, and young offensive lineman is a good way to keep Randall healthy. Here comes the pick. Let's see what the Eagles have selected. Val Pinchback, the TV guru, and the commissioner.
With the 14th choice in the first round, the Philadelphia Eagles select Bernard Williams, tackle, University of Georgia.
Well, it was a difference of tackle or guard. I mean, you have Gandy, Williams, and Taylor are all right there and are all pretty close. And there are many, Mel, that say that Bernard Williams from Georgia, in the long run, those 3 names that we've mentioned, could be the best pro. Do you agree?
He's huge, Chris. He's a mountain of a man, 6'8.5". Needs to get a little stronger, but he was right up there with Wayne Gandy from Auburn as one of the top tackles in the league. You watch him at Georgia, an outstanding base pass blocker. You see him here, number 7 defensive end from Tennessee. Stands him up, good feet and balance for a kid that's 6'8.5", 320 pounds. Explosion at the point is something really that Bernard Williams needs to work on, getting a little stronger overall. That will come once it gets into an NFL weight room. But in terms of value, you're getting it in the first round here in the middle with an offensive lineman, a pure tackle. This is a team that addressed guard last year with Lester Holmes, went for Antone Davis a few years ago. They have Broderick Thompson, left tackle, and left guard Eric Floyd, both coming off of injury. So it is also a major need pick for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, Bernard Williams, who is 6'8", 315, he's a guy that could put 340 on his frame and still look skinny. Let's go up to Tom Jackson. And Tommy, some people say that Bernard Williams reminds them of a young Richmond Webb, which, of course, is a heck of a compliment, the all-pro tackle of the Miami Dolphins. You looked at Williams on film. What do you see?
Well, I think he certainly has a lot of potential, and he was dominant at the college level. But I think that you always worry about a guy who's 6'8", and I had this explained to me. The hardest job in football is probably that of the offensive line, where 1 second you're blocking a guy who is your size, the next second you're blocking a guy who's a linebacker who's 6'2", 235 pounds, who can run. The next second you're on a guy who's 5'9", 175 pounds a corner, and you have to make those adjustments instantaneously. And at 6'8", the one thing I will say, you have to be able to bend over and block guys. So for me, I think that Bernard Williams was a wait-and-see situation.
All right, Tommy, let's go to Mike Gottfried, who had a chance to watch Bernard Williams in college. I know in some of the games, Coach, for example, one he played against Henry Ford, he absolutely flattened him, and he's a guy that could go in the first round. How do you see Williams? Is he a project, or can he step right in and be a starter this year?
No, I think he can step right in, Chris. He's a basketball player playing football, and Tom Jackson just had some good comments, but Bernard Williams can bend his knees. I mean, he really is the only true left tackle in this draft, and free agency has moved tackles around all over the league, and when you can find a young guy who can play the left tackle position, he's a building block for your program. So I think the Eagles got a good choice.
He could be a great teacher.
All right, Coach, in talking with some scouts about Williams going into the draft, they say, you know what, he can be like Ray Roberts of Seattle. They put him out there at the tackle spot the first year, and he struggled, but he learned, and he's grown into a pretty good player, and maybe that'll be what happened with Williams, because they kind of did the same thing with Antone Davis, if you think back a couple of years. The Rams. Now, you talk about an old helmet. Either that's Myron Patios or Bob Waterfield wore that helmet. I'm not sure. The Rams are on the clock. We'll be back.
Reinhold Bertleff had a key role in the building of Porsche's new 911 Carrera. Did he design the engine? The radical suspension? No. Instead, Reinhold and his co-workers have perhaps the best job in the world. They test drive every new 911 on the Autobahn. If Reinhold likes your car, we're pretty sure you'll like your car.
There's a big change taking place in the world of soft drinks. It's not a new product, or a new flavor, or a new name, or even a new package. It's a whole new way to look at soft drinks. Diet Pepsi is introducing freshness dating. From now on, you'll see a date printed on the bottom of every Diet Pepsi. It's a date that guarantees your Diet Pepsi is delivering the taste you love at the absolute peak of freshness. It's all about giving our customers what they want.
Freshness dating from Diet Pepsi. It'll change the way you look at soft drinks.
These guys got to start brushing their teeth.
Back at the draft, and not only do we look at this year, we look at next year when two new teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers, swing into action in '95. We will have coming up within the hour the coin toss. Who will pick first in next year's draft, and who will pick second? Jacksonville and Carolina. Is it heads or is it tails? And that's coming up inside. See, we give you all sorts of entertainment. You think we're just looking here with our notes and of course, the Bible, Mel's book. I mean, we got so many other things. We got exciting coin flips. And of course, this is a year with the Rams on the clock. let's just put this out there. This is more of a year, and we'll come back and talk about this, that players have to come in and be able to contribute a little bit earlier. Because after 4 years, teams don't know if you have these guys. Case in point, draft picks in 93, 90% of the guys drafted last year in the 8 rounds are still on someone's roster right now heading into 94. 90%. Go back about 10 years, that number 1 year later was more like 40, 45%. Teams have to wait and teams have to get some contributions from their players and know what they're paying them. So that might sway some decisions in the first round and the second round. Who's a little bit better pro right now and who may be more of a project. Of course, Williams might take a little while to develop in Philadelphia, but you guys, Mel, subscribe with that theory this year?
I do, and I think the Rams in particular have done a great job. I mean, we can criticize them for not taking Trent Dilfer, but they have Chris Miller at quarterback, who's secure as the #1 guy. They went from 5 to 15, picked up a 2 and a 3, 2 fine football players for a rebuilding team trying to get over the top. They also have moved down 10 spots, but still are looking at the same guys they would have at 5. Offensive linemen like Aaron Taylor, who's a Notre Dame grad. They like Notre Dame players. Jerome Bettis last year. They have Pat Terrell, Todd Light. You also look at cornerback. You have Dwayne Washington still out there. You have wide receiver Charles Johnson. So they are doing it just as good at 15 as they would have at 5. So they have created opportunities just like Bill Walsh did when he was with the 49ers and Jimmy Johnson at Dallas. And I think that's the way rebuilding teams get over the hump.
Now we say we may have a run on offensive linemen. Aaron Taylor and company sitting right there with Williams gone and now Gandy. Now maybe teams look that way. Let's go out to Chris Mortensen in Indianapolis. You see this coming now, Morton?
Chris, I definitely see that. A little bit of a run on offensive players here. Bernard Williams being the first offensive lineman. I mean, Aaron Taylor, Wayne Gandy, as you mentioned, Charles Johnson. I mean, even though Henry Ford, defensive lineman, sitting there still, Miami lost Jeff Ulenake over the weekend, a center. So I do think we're going to see a run on offensive linemen in the next 6 to 7 picks. In fact, the Eagles, as we said, pick one of those offensive linemen. Let's go to Mark Malone in Philadelphia with Coach Rich Kotite.
All right, thanks a lot, Martin. Coach, we talked yesterday about the possibility of upgrading your team defensively. Of course, not a lot of defensive linemen available at that 14th pick. Bernard Williams, jump right out at you?
Yeah, he was one of our primary guys on offense. So we were thinking, obviously the defensive people, but we've really upgraded ourselves. Our defensive line a few years ago was the weakest part of the team. I think they're probably projected to be the strongest part of the team, and it gives us flexibility there. He can go in at left tackle, and we can move some people around and be very formidable, I think.
You have the 29th pick. What are you going to do with that? A lot of speculation, people moving around. Can you still upgrade your team there, or do you look to deal it off and move around a little bit?
Well, I think you can upgrade your team, but, the phone's ringing all the time. I think we're in touch with everybody. And right now, we're not exactly sure what's going to take place, but I'm confident that if we do stay with it, we'll have a good player, or we may move.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. We're going back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Mark and Coach Kotite, thank you. The Eagles we will hear from as the last pick of the first round, coming up the compensatory pick in the 29th. Here's the Rams selection.
Rams select Wayne Gandy, tackle from Auburn. Miami Dolphins are now on the clock.
Look out. Here come the big fellas. Bernard Williams and now Wayne Gandy selected. And now here's the Rams offensive line. We showed you this a little bit earlier. Everyone but Brostek and Goas at right guard are getting up there in age. And with Wayne Gandy, you have yet another Mel. He's 6'4". Some people liken him to Bob Whitfield, the Stanford tackle that went a couple of years ago to the Falcons in the first round. He's tall, long-armed, very long-armed, and some say the most prepared to step in right now, that he's very prepared.
He's your best left tackle prospect. Aaron Taylor would have been your best left guard prospect. I think what rose Wayne Gandy to the top of my tackle class was the fact that even at 287 pounds, he's got great feet and balance and pass protection. You see him here, number 74, going against the undersized linebacker defensive end for Georgia, doing the job. He can power people off the line in run blocking situations. Here, James Bostic, who you will see in the second round, running back, opening up a hole there. Here, he's springing Bostic again with a good block. This is a guy who got better as the year progressed, topped it off with a great effort at the week at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. He did a great job in those one-on-one drills, which are critical for offensive linemen as far